Introducing the Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock, the ultimate teaching tool. Flat smack with confidence. What does Flat Earth look like? Bam! That's what it looks like. Now available in the Apple App Store, Android Google Play, and Apple Watch coming soon.
If we truly want to make scientific progress, we need to put aside our biased beliefs and work together to examine and discover our future.
A person isn't free to employ critical thinking until they hear the different perspectives on an issue. We're denying the students the right to choose, and that's just fundamentally wrong. It's just unethical.
If we base our science on false ideas and things that are not shown to be true, then we basically are building science on philosophy and not on evidence. And we need to get back to where we go where the evidence leads.
When alternatives to naturalism are explored, we can experience a well-rounded education and adhere only to the empirical scientific evidence which has been proven.
Humans, for the most part, don't have a clue. They don't want one or need one either. They're happy. They think they have a good lead on things.
Well, why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat.
There are very few universal truths in the world. One is, food always tastes better when somebody else is paying for it. Universal truth. The other is that everybody in this room was taught the story of how Columbus went before Queen Isabella of Spain, and he was going to prove to her that the world was round. Do you know what Queen Isabella of Spain, pretty smart woman, I gotta believe, would have said to Christopher Columbus if he laid this line on her? She would look to him and go, Cristoforo. Aristotle figured out the world was round 2,000 years ago. This is 1492, the year they invented the globe. So this world is round story is 100% bullshit. It's total fiction. Yet how did our grandparents learn this? We learn this. Our grandchildren are probably going to learn this. How come? Because history is pop culture.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually. We only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. We only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. The moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to.
And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made from the White House. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you have done.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor and privilege for us to be here.
A journey to another planet, a manned mission to Mars.
I should tell you that the first mission is scheduled to land on Mars on July the 4th, 1997, Independence Day.
We will undertake extended human missions to the moon as early as 2015, with the goal of living and working there for increasingly extended periods of time. Human missions to Mars and to worlds beyond.
But I just have to say, pretty bluntly here, we've been there before. There's a lot more of space to explore and a lot more to learn when we do. Now, last month we launched a new spacecraft as part of a re-energized space program that will send American astronauts to Mars.
We will establish a foundation for an eventual mission to Mars and perhaps someday to many worlds beyond. If we dare to dream big, and that's what our country is doing again. We're dreaming big.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
There's not one authentic picture of this oblate, pear-shaped, spinning ball that they claim we live on. I'm sorry to tell you, the only thing that's been to space is your imagination. There is no such thing as space. For thousands of years, all ancient civilizations knew the Earth was flat. Until 500 years ago, they took the Word of God and they turned it upside down. They said, no, we revolve around the sun. The sun's in the middle, and we're spinning through space and wobbling with the sun at over 600,000 miles per hour. When an organization of pseudoscientists tell me to go completely against what all my senses tell me, that we're stationary and flat, I see it's flat, it's immovable. When I'll go outside, when I send a camera up without GoPro or fisheye lens, when I send a balloon up 100,000 feet and it shows the horizon flat, I can't go against that. When I see skylines 60 to 100 miles away, when spherical geometry says they should be behind the curve, all this stuff isn't adding up.
From Joshua Nowicki, and what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I say, continue to believe pathological liars and you're an idiot.
Your perspective of the world that you live in has been molded in you from the time that you were born. All you've ever seen of our world is in the form of a globe. It's in logos, it's on billboards, it's in classrooms. Everywhere you look, you see it. The globe in all of its splendor. In an ever-present course around the sun and through the universe, the globe, a magnificent testimony to the Big Bang and evolution, as well as unexplained forces like dark matter and dark energy, or the mysterious ever-present weak force of gravity, a ghostly principle that cannot be observed or proven, but is accepted as truth and taught as truth in every school. Gravity as a theory exists to explain how you and I can be standing on a spinning ball in space. Gravity as a theory exists to explain why even though water always finds a perfect level, it's able to stick to a curved surface while rivers are able to flow and water always flows downhill to the lowest point and settles level. Gravity exists as a theory to explain why we are in a perfect yet elliptical orbit around the sun. Gravity exists as a theory to explain why we have the tides. Why does an apple fall from a tree? The truth is, if the Earth were not a sphere, if it were a mostly flat surface with hills and mountains like what we see around us, none of these theories could ever be accurate. And people ask me, why would the governments of the world keep it a secret? This isn't talking about just uprooting the multi-billion-dollar budgets of space exploration. It's about uprooting the trillion-dollar-a-year budget or more of the scientific establishment as a whole. Think about how much money we spend every year on studying evolution. Think about how much money is spent studying dark matter and dark energy. I mean, how many super colliders actually exist in the world? How many of those colliders are funded partially or solely by taxpayer money? If the Earth is somewhat flat and motionless, the entire scientific establishment comes crashing down, and with it, trillions of dollars in unnecessary waste.
By the way, how much money is being spent on space? You should emblazon this in your head. Here it goes. This is the pie chart. $330 billion a year is spent on space. Spent on space. Spent on space.
If you watch movies, you'll start to notice all the time you're seeing this right in your face. If you think about it, you were shown the globe and taught before you can even think for yourself or even barely walk, you were taught the globe model. This stuff is imprinted in our minds and we grow up and it's hard to let go. The definition of a fisheye lens is an ultra-wide-angle lens that produces strong visual distortion to create a wide, panoramic, or hemispherical image.
Whenever you start to tilt it upwards or downwards, that's where you get the curvature distortion. So if you tilt the lens upwards in relationship to the horizon, it's going to kind of curve up and create a bowl-type effect. If you tilt it downward, it's going to create a sphere or a kind of an orb type effect.
Besides Hollywood movies and TV shows, these wide-angle camera lenses are the only reason you'll ever witness curvature. It's the very reason why most people believe they have seen curvature. Because at 120,000 plus feet, there is no curvature when you use a normal lens that's not distorted.
It's 2018. If you don't know that the Earth is not a giant spinning ball, then you are either holding yourself back on purpose or you're a shill.
To all those of you who can't possibly imagine a deception so large, it's time to realize that this isn't a conspiracy anymore. You just need to do the research, and you'll see that we don't and can't live on a spinning ball in space. Period. Math is not reality.
Pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down. Every 5 minutes he should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve. That's absolute proof that a plane flies over a flat surface rather than a curved one.
Earth doesn't move.
If you look into the experiments to prove that the Earth is spinning, all of them fail.
We have been led to believe that the sun goes down below a horizon as we roll away from it on our spinning ball Earth. When we allow ourselves to question, challenge, or even try to confirm our beliefs with real-life observations, we allow ourselves to see what we really see, even if we cannot understand it. And perhaps we are not supposed to understand it. And that is the point of watching a sun travel away from us, getting smaller and smaller, and becoming a speck on the horizon beyond the band of convergence. The sun appears to be exactly where we see it.
I said orbiting metal expensive satellites don't exist. It's a scam on you and on me. Go ahead and try and prove satellites exist. You won't and you can't.
What we're calling satellite communication is landline communication. Most of the world's communication systems are land-based. That is a fact. And that shouldn't be a fact if satellites are real, okay? None of the stuff we use in our world today require the use of a satellite, all right? Keyword, ground-based. I know that this satellite program is straight bogus and that the billions of money that they're getting from us in taxes is being used to turn around and deceive us. Why you keep building these towers if we're paying for satellites? Any way they could exist is to hover above a certain height above the flat plane Earth and they would be stationary.
Captain thinks the world is round, see? But we all know it's a flat, right?
Of course it's flat. Sure, I know the world is flat.
Well, so do I. Everybody knows that.
Good. Then you're on our side. We're gonna take over the boat, throw Columbus in chains, and head for home.
Good idea.
The words Google Flat Earth were found carved into the riverside hill in letters that were 10 feet long.
The world is flat?
The world is flat.
Not debatable, it's flat.
The world is flat.
The Earth 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 is flat. The world is flat.
The world is flat like a son of a bitch.
You're giving us a lot to process.
True or false? The Earth is round.
False.
Can you please explain your answer?
It hasn't been proven.
No. Why do you believe you live on a globe? What was your reason?
Yes, because I've been told. Sorry, okay.
Prove it without using NASA or any other space agency.
The Earth is flat. I don't see any curvature. Curvature. I mean, it's definitely not curving down. If anything, the horizon is rising to meet our eye line.
The science is the same of that of a lens. Here's a simple example. the atmosphere really is acting like a lens.
Yes.
If anyone was to Google world time zones, they would find only flat maps describing the 24-hour time zones of the Earth. And if you scroll down, you see nothing but flat Earth maps. Isn't that interesting? Now, if we were to maybe say, well, maybe it's global world time zones, again, all we see are flat maps. Here's a time zone map of the world, all right? It's on a flat map. And if we scroll down a little further, they show a cute little clock that can only work on a flat Earth. So here is just proof evidence conclusively that we do not live on a round spinning ball hurtling through space at thousands of miles per second and all the rest of the rubbish that we've been told and sold over so many decades. So here I just took an orange representing the round ball global Earth, and I divided it into 24 sections. 24 sections at the equator, which represents the 24 time zones on Earth, 1 hour at a time. So this is the exact same orange. I drew the lines of 24 sections around a round ball Earth and drew them up to the North Pole. And my simple question for everybody who believes we live in a heliocentric round ball Earth, can you please tell me what time is it at the North Pole as we spin around? Is it 12 o'clock? Is it 2 o'clock? Is it 11 a.m.? Is it 11 p.m.? Works the same on the other way if we do have a South Pole. I didn't draw the lines in, but you get the idea. Simply proven, very easy to do. We do not live on a round ball, folks. It is simply impossible given the time zones.
And to prove its potential, they began flying it around the world, around the world, around the world, around the world, from Abu Dhabi last year, with stops in India and China, then across the vast Pacific. Remember, it has no fuel. It then was on to the United States, hopscotched across America, powered only by the sun. And now it has crossed its last ocean, the Atlantic. Not much further to go. Around the world, around the world, around the world, around the world, around the world. To prove its potential, they began flying it around the world.
Take a listen to what is said here.
Because we control the mind. Reality is inside the skull, Winston. We control the laws of nature. The stars are not light years, but a few kilometers away. If we wished, we could blot them out.
That's what it all comes down to. Only a few kilometers away, not light years away like we're told. Now let's take a look at this model, as I show many times, of the flat earth. It's basically how the sun goes over. There's no concept of the moon, but how the sun revolves around the flat earth. Now, if you live, say for example, in California, of course, each morning the sun comes from the east coast. Okay? Then it goes over California, for example. It does not go over or around the supposed ball. It just goes out of sight. Due to perspective, it appears to go around a ball. It's not. It's just circling around the flat earth. That's all it's doing. Okay, from your perspective, it looks like it's going down. It's not. Looks like it's sinking. It's not. Again, perspective. Just like a row of telephone poles. They're all the same height, but due to perspective, you cannot see the bottom portion of the legs. Not because they're no longer there, just because, again, you only can see so far. That's what it all comes down to. Now, the entire concept, as I showed before as well, people say, well, this can't be possible. You have daylight, and night at the same time. The whole flat earth should be illuminated. It's not the case. The sun, again, just like Polaris, they're much, much closer than we're told, as I shown before. In this footage, as you can see here at night, this Alaska cruise, this guy here, let me go to the start here. This guy's in his, basically his cabin. He peers out, and there you go. There's the moon. He pans over. And there's your daytime right there. Okay, pans over to the left. There's your daytime. If you keep going further down, you're eventually going to see the sun. It's just basically, again, the whole concept of the sun, as I've shown here, revolving around the flat earth. Show this again here. Get to that point. There's your day. And there's your night. Go slow. Simple as that. All easily explained once you understand the whole entire concept. And the reason, again, people believe what they do believe, again, they can't get past all the lies. They think they're smart enough to figure out they've been lied to about some things when they don't understand they've been lied to about everything by these Masons that own and control this whole entire world.
When you look at the most popularly used representation of the flat earth map, we'll go with the USGS azimuthal equidistant projection, and you look down at that map and you look at the northern tropic and then you look at the southern tropic, or from this point I'll refer to the inner and outer tropic. As the sun goes around its path and hurries back to the place where it rises again, when it's over the northern tropic, doesn't it look like the deserts on that tropic latitude? In the north, the Tropic of Cancer at 23 degrees. Look at that ring of deserts that occur around the earth. And then go to the southern hemisphere and you look at that outer tropic of Capricorn and you look at all the deserts that occur along that path. Those could easily be the product of a sun traveling in close proximity to the earth and distributing its heat, creating those deserts. Now, academia teaches us, no, it's just the angle of the earth when it goes around the sun. I don't really buy that. And here's something to think about. Look at the deserts in the northern hemisphere. That's when the sun is going around the Tropic of Cancer. Now, it crosses the equator, and then it goes down and momentarily rests before it changes direction on the Tropic of Capricorn. And you see all the deserts that occur there. It goes over the equator twice, which means it receives that same direct intensity from the sun twice as frequently as the tropic on the northern and southern extremes of its path. The biggest deserts in the world should be over the equator because it gets direct overhead sunshine twice as frequently as the tropics do. But it's in transition according to the flat Earth model. Just a thought. Look at those deserts, look at where the tropics are, and imagine yourself if that could be the product of the sun 93 million miles away, illuminating the entire globe. Or if it looks more like, perhaps, the sun is closer than they say. Because to me, it could very well be that it's closer than they say and is responsible for those deserts in those tropic regions. Anyway, at the end of the day, you can sit on your back porch and look at the sky, and you still see the same stars that were looked at by people centuries ago and millenniums ago, and nothing has changed. It's like clockwork. Yet, the story they taught us is that we're traveling through the universe at 500 million miles an hour. I would think something would have changed along the view, but I'm sure there's some mathematical formula that tells us that what makes sense is not actually the way it works. You have to think about it if you're looking at the flat Earth, and you have to reason and critique and scrutinize and be honest with yourself. Start from a point where you don't give the original story that we've been given from birth any credibility at all. Make them prove it. And when you start looking at all of the frauds that NASA has generated along the way and presented as evidence of their activity to discover great things in space, you can't believe what they teach anymore. Which leads you to other things. And if you're really looking for the truth, you have to be intellectually honest, and there can be no sacred cows. You have to question everything. And when you find the testimony of a contributor like NASA to be fake, you have to throw everything out that they teach as fake and having no merit. And what does that leave you with? No pictures of the globe, no pictures of the space station, no fake zero gravity spacewalks around satellites. And then what do you have? You have what you see with your own eyes. You have what instruments have demonstrated over and over, that the Earth is not in motion. You have a horizon over any body of water that you can see that has zero curve. There's so many things to consider. So don't let yourself be dissuaded from investigating this subject by peers that want to mock you. They're just not interested in the truth. Eventually, everybody ultimately has to believe something. And we were all taught the same thing in school. And we were never taught to question what we were taught at school. So, keep looking and keep thinking. You may find something really interesting at the end of that journey.